Trade with South Africa. It has been reported that South Africa has signed a pre-deal agreement with the United States as Pretoria aims to secure a trade deal that would exempt some of its key exports from the tariffs, including autos, auto parts, steel and aluminium. As of the 1st of August, a 30% tax on US imports from South Africa, which is part of the global reciprocal tariffs, is set to take effect. For more on this, we joined on the line by Viwe Ntshongwana, Trade Analyst. A very good afternoon to you, Viwe. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Good afternoon, Thami.
So can we read this pre-signing of the proposed trade deal as an indicator that we might indeed, as in South Africa, might indeed be accepting this new trade deal?
Thami, I think we don't really have an option. I think we are now looking, I don't like this phrase, but the better of two devils. And I think by signing, we are acknowledging that there are certain decisions that might not be reversible, but we need to make the best of a bad situation.
So in this new proposed deal, the emphasis seems to be on critical minerals that supply the United States. Could this be the selling point, given Trump's focus on setting about dealing with mineral-rich countries such as the DRC and the Ukraine? There seems to be a congruency there.
Yes, there's definitely that selling point because we have a number of rare earth critical minerals that the U.S. Would like to procure. And I definitely think that expanding trade and even diversifying trade between the U.S. and South Africa might be the best way, I'm sorry to use this phrase, but to appease Trump. So it's definitely a selling point. But another issue that I want to just mention, Thami, is the issue of the politics around this. Trade and economics are one thing, but we also need to get down to the politics and find out that what are the issues that have aggrieved the U.S. That have knocked on to the trade as well.
They're really making sure that we look at both the politics and the trade, because indeed the politics does impact and affect the trade. And we saw that during that USSA Oval Office meeting. Actually, not only with South Africa, but with all of the countries that Trump met with, politics were very much at the center of whatever trade negotiations and trade deals were being discussed.
Yes, I think pertaining to South Africa, besides the things that were mentioned at the Oval Office, but there are also some other underlying issues, and I don't know whether we can actually pin them down pertaining to our case against Israel at the ICJ, our involvement in BRICS, our relationship with Russia and China and so on, our relationship with Iran. And I think we really need to get to the bottom of that and find out what are the political issues at play. Because what's quite evident now, Thami, is that moving forward, economics can never be and will never be analyzed or engaged in isolation of politics. So some of the stances that South Africa has taken globally and politically or geopolitically, in the future, in fact, even in the present, we are going to have to start making an analysis, an economic analysis of political positions that we take, but not only South Africa, other countries as well.
I guess it also depends, Viwe, on who is the government of the day. Because we've seen very much, with an ANC-led government, even within the GNU, certain stances that are not necessarily common to all of the other parties, but stances that the African National Congress, as the ruling party, former Liberation Party, have been, very adamant in sticking to. And those they haven't compromised on. But they still want the favorable trade conditions. So really sticking to their guns on both of those issues.
Yes, definitely. But to me, the question is how long will they be able to hold out? Remember, Thami, when we analyze the end of apartheid, there were also sanctions that were put on South Africa. So, whatever the apartheid regime thought that they could hold on to, once the economic realities started to hit home, they had to change tact. So, I always say that economics speaks louder than politics. And with our current economic circumstance, unemployment, disinvestment that is taking place in South Africa, certain positions we may have to change if it may be economically expedient to do that. I don't think that some of the stances we've taken politically can purely focus on moral arguments. In global politics and in politics, the politics have to accompany the economics because at the end of the day, service delivery, employment, and economic growth have to take place. And trade is one of those means to make sure that domestic economy is sustained.
Viwe, let's take a look at the strategy that has been common to many of the countries that are getting the shorter end of the United States tariffs. Many of them have spoken about expanding markets. South Africa's Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, said that South Africa is really wanting to expand its trade partners. Could this be a solution to offset this 30% tariff on exports? He mentioned the likes of Chile, of New Zealand, of Peru, for example. Can these markets offset the impact that might be caused by the 30% tariff hike?
No, not in an immediate way, Thami. These value chains are not built overnight. There's infrastructure rather, that is at play. There are agreements that need to be made. So definitely, it's quite evident now that we need to diversify our exports and our trading partners, but it's definitely not going to happen overnight. And it's not going to happen at the rate at which Donald Trump is working. Remember, we're working now with a deadline of 1st of August, and even if it is extended, it won't be extended by that much. So we cannot develop the value chains and the production value chains that need to be developed fast enough. So the consequences will play themselves out first, well before we are actually able to diversify. So I think we have to walk down this road and get to an agreement with the US while we are simultaneously building other value chains globally.
We're going to go to our markets desk for our latest market indicators, but I really cannot let you go, Viwe, without asking you this. And if we could maybe just try and sum it up really quickly. We've seen the U.S. lawmakers proposing the U.S.-South Africa Bilateral Relations Review Act of 2025. And what this in effect does, it seeks to impose sanctions against some ANC leaders who have been accused, amongst other things, of supporting China, Russia, and Iran, and also mismanaging state resources. How might political tensions, such as this, for example, affect those trade talks? I think in many ways it does tie in to an earlier conversation we had, but I'd like us to zone in on just this particular review of the Act.
Look, definitely, Thami, it's going to be consequential. But I think what we need to do is to find out why are the people that are being sanctioned being sanctioned. Remember, targeted sanctions may be the beginning of bigger sanctions, national sanctions. And we need to find out what is the evidence that is at play. Remember, South Africa is a sovereign state. So, in terms of relating with China, in terms of relating with Russia and other countries, we can't say that we won't do that, or we can't give a guarantee to the US to say that we're going to stop relating with these countries. But what we need to definitely do is to make sure that those relations are above board and that there are no individuals that are going beyond their obligation to the government and to the nation of South Africa
All right.
to accrue wealth privately and corruptly as well.
Well,
Yes,
certainly
madam.
something to continue looking at with a very fine-tooth comb. We thank you so much for your analysis this afternoon, Viwe.
I appreciate it as well, Thami. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. That's Viwe Ntshongwana, Trade Analyst on a USA pre-deal agreement that's been signed. That takes us to exactly 4:32 Central African time. Thank you very much to the Economics Desk for very kindly giving us those extra 2 minutes just to finish off that conversation. We head over now to the Economics Desk for the latest market indicators with Tabiso Lehoko.